Good afternoon. This is Miss Billerbeck, and we're going to talk about the idea of negative numbers and the number line. So we have positive numbers, which are things like 1, 2, 3, 4, and neutral. The neutral number is 0. It's neither positive or negative. And negative numbers, -4, -3, -2, -1, and so on. And we have, fractions and all those, but when we only talk about numbers that are like this, these are called integers. Integers go to negative infinity this way and positive infinity that way. And they're -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So those are called integers. But we want to talk about negative numbers today. So what makes a number negative? So when we read something like the temperature dropped to 10 degrees Celsius below, that means -10 degrees Celsius. Okay, that probably should say below 0. So the business is in debt by $500. So that would be -$500 on the books. So that is a way we might want to think about negative numbers. All right, so when we look at a number line, it's easier to see the negative numbers. So the negative numbers are on the left side. We have 0 typically in the middle. And then on the right side, we have the positive numbers. So these would be our positive numbers. So these are very small. These are very large. So we have -4 would be less than -3. -4 would be less than 0. -4 is less than 4. So this is the less than sign. So to remember less than, we have the little by the point, big where it opens. Okay, so big fits into the mouth of the inequality sign. When we get to this sign where it's flipped around, 2 is greater than -1, 0 is greater than -1, 4 is greater than 2. So here we have the big number and the little number. So that would be greater than. So let's look at an example of what makes a number negative. So an airplane is 3,200 meters above sea level, and a submarine is 456 meters below sea level. Represent these altitudes using positive and negative numbers. Well, this would be plus 3,200 meters, and this would be minus 456 meters. So if we wanted to see how far they were apart, we would take this distance to 0, which is 320 meters, and we'd add it to this distance here, which is 456 meters. So that's the distance apart they are. So when we add this, they are 3,656 meters apart. Okay. All right. So that's how you find the distance. The distance is subtracting. So if we had 3,200 minus a -456, well, we have a minus minus, so that's the same thing as 3,200 plus 456, which is what we did. and that's 3,656 meters. All right. So, given the numbers negative 218 and negative 13.4 and 106, arrange the numbers in descending order. Well, 106 is positive, so it's the bigger number. The next bigger number is negative 13.4. And the smallest number is negative 218. Now, if we had taken an absolute value, and we haven't talked about absolute value, but if we look at the distance from 0, which one's farther away from 0? Well, that would be this one. So if we look at the absolute values in ascending order, meaning the distance, we would have 218, it's 218 away from 0. Then we'd have 106 away from 0, and then 13.4. All right, so let's talk about, well, what is this absolute value that you just talked about? So absolute value of a number is the distance that the number is from 0 on the number line. Okay, so negative 4 is a distance of 4 away from 0. Just like negative 218 was 218 away from 0. So if we had the absolute value, which we use these vertical bars, that means absolute value, negative 4 equals 4. Okay? So if we have the absolute value of x, that's going to equal x, as long as x is greater than or equal to 0, because the absolute value of 0 would equal 0. And the absolute value of 4 would equal 0. But when would this happen? The absolute value of x equals negative x if x is less than 0. Well, if it was greater than 0, we see that the absolute value of 3 equals 3, but the absolute value of negative 3 is a negative of a negative 3, which is 3. So that's what this means, but it's just in really algebraic terms, okay? So the absolute value of a number is never negative. Now, if we think of the absolute value like a washing machine, the only thing a washing machine does is it removes dirt. So if you put dirty clothes in the washing machine, it comes out clean. If you put clean clothes into the washing machine, they still come out clean. So if we think of an absolute value sign as a washing machine that washes away negatives, and that's all it does, then we won't get so confused. However, what happens when we have a dirty laundry room and we take our clean clothes out of the dryer and we set them in a dirty laundry room? That's right, they get dirty. So if we have a situation where we have a dirty laundry room, then we would have this equals negative 3 still. Okay, so with a dirty laundry room, we can wash away those negatives all we want, but it's still going to be negative out here because there's dirt. Okay, so these two negatives don't cancel each other out because this is really a 3 because it gets the negative washed away, and then this is a dirty laundry room. So then the negative continues to follow. All right, so let's look at another example. So we're going to simplify. So if we simplify the absolute value of -5, the only thing that does is it gets rid of the negative because it's the distance from 0. So that's 5. This one's still 24 away from 0, so it's going to be a positive 24, but it's a dirty laundry room. So we end up with a negative 24 because there's a negative outside that absolute value sign. And then here we have the absolute value of -3. Well, that's the same thing as the absolute value of 3, okay? Which is just -3 because there's a dirty laundry room. All right, so that concludes this lesson. Have a wonderful day.